Last time out, the Gratton Cup Series went to the North Wilkesboro Speedway for the very first time, and the championship battle had a spanner thrown into the works when Dawson Miller and Duncan Ward collided on pit road, which resulted in Miller stalling the car, losing a lap and finishing down in the 28th position. Henry Gore, his main rival in the championship, finished up in 6th and gained a critical 21 points on the championship leader. Today here at Charlotte, Dawson Miller has that second opportunity to clinch the championship here today. But with a 39-point advantage, he must outrun Henry Gore in this race here today. While drivers like Alexander Rowe, Benny Watson mathematically still alive, they're unlikely, they still have a chance at winning this championship. We're back here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in Concord, North Carolina for the first of 2 races this week, the penultimate race of the season. This is the Bank of America 500, the 29th race here at the Gratton Cup Series for Season 6. Hello and welcome to the Charlotte Motor Speedway here at Concord, North Carolina, the penultimate race of the Gratton Cup Series for Season 6. I'm Stuart Gratton. I've got Isaac Nichols with me, the owner of Nicotech Racing. Welcome to Concord, North Carolina, Charlotte Motor Speedway, the second to last race of the season. 84 laps coming away here in this 1.5 mile track in Concord, North Carolina. I've already said it 3 times. We're looking forward to this race. Of course, a lot happening in the championship. Mentioned in the Open, Dawson Miller had that incident last week with Duncan Ward on pit road, and that dropped him a long way down the order. He still has a pretty good buffer, 39 points coming into this race over Henry Gore. But the bad news coming into this race for Dawson Miller, he starts from 31st on the grid. That's probably about as bad of a qualifying run he's had basically all season. I think the only one that I could think of that was worse for him was Coda back in race 3. Very different racetrack, of course. Henry Gore, on the other hand, starts from 7th in the 71, and he is charging late on in this season, trying to make a run here at this championship. And then you've got Alexander Rowe, Benny Watson still mathematically alive. We'll run through the permutations here in the pre-race. But Isaac, I know you're a bit nervous because your man, Dawson Miller, he can win the Drivers' Championship here tonight. What does he have to do here tonight? He starts from 31st. He's got a good buffer in hand in terms of the championship. But how does he approach this race knowing that he can clinch it here tonight?
He has to approach this very, very carefully. But he also needs to keep in mind that he will want to finish ahead of Gore because that's really the only way to secure this championship. To say things didn't quite go our way last race would be a massive understatement. But that really put a massive dent in his championship hopes to really seal that up in the last race. But yeah, it's going to be quite a grind, shall I say, for this race for him to seal it up here. And yeah, Gore is really licking his lips at the opportunity of still being in this championship. And yeah, it's starting, as you said, it's kind of he's charging and it's falling into his hands a little bit. But there's still a lot to play for, and it's a long race, not as long as the 600 earlier on in the season, but yeah, Dawson has quite the challenge ahead of him.
He sure does. He's not the only one far back in terms of championship contenders. Benny Watson, he's still mathematically alive. He starts down in the 25th position, so he's got a lot of work to do as well. Those are the only 4 guys, and Alexander Rowe, of course, he's the other guy that can still win the championship, but he starts from 3rd. He's got a lot to do as well, but he did win the Coke 600 here earlier in the season, so keep that in mind as he starts from the 3rd position today. Let's take a look at the championship standings, because as I said, Dawson Miller 39 points ahead of Henry Gore. Gore, for the record, has finished in the top 10 in each of the last 4 races, so he's really making a run at it pretty late. Alexander Rowe, as I said, 78 points back. Benny Watson, 92 points back. We'll talk through those for the permutations there in a second. Dominic Anthony tried his hardest last week to stay alive in the championship battle, but unfortunately with some of the drivers pitting late, He lost all that ground because Miller made a few positions, and so in the end he is mathematically out of championship contention. Eli Bright also tried very hard, but he's fallen out of championship contention as well. Noah Clifton 7th in the points. Matthew Hubert is up to 8th in the points, still looking for his first win of the season. Tristan Allen, who finished 2nd in the 600 here earlier in the year, and Jared Oren is the final driver, top 10 in the points. In terms of the championship permutations and what must happen here today, if Dawson Miller finishes 7 or more points ahead of Henry Gore, and he doesn't lose 32 or more points to Alexander Rowe, or, well, if Benny Watson doesn't win the race, Dawson Miller wins the championship here today. But given that he starts with 31st, he's got a lot of work to do. If Henry Gore outruns the 48, of course, he is still alive going to Homestead. If he finishes within 6 points of Dawson Miller, he has to be 45 or less back. He's still alive. For Alexander Rowe, he needs to gain a lot of points here today. I can't lie to you. He needs to gain 32 points on Dawson Miller, and he also needs to gain quite a few on Henry Gore. I don't know the maths off the top of my head. It's not a likely proposition for Alexander Rowe, but still mathematically alive. Benny Watson has to win the race. He has to lead the most laps, and Dawson Miller must finish last. That's just to stay alive, and then the same thing must happen next week at Homestead. Not likely, that's fair to say, for Benny Watson, but those are the permutations for our 4 championship contenders. Mathematically still alive, and hey, come Sunday, who knows? Crazy things have happened in the Gratton Cup Series, and we'll see how it goes here in this race. We'll see how the finale goes this Sunday at the Homestead-Miami Speedway. But 125 miles, 84 laps coming your way, and it's a Premier Racing Motorsports front row. Bit of a surprise. Jake Rogers, first pole of the year for Rogers. It was a bit of a surprise there. He's in car number 40. He's alongside his teammate there, the number 36 of Christian Vargas, who I reckon this would have to be his best career start in that 36. He's been quite good the second half of the season. Alexander Rowe, 5 wins this year. Coke 600 winner. Keep an eye on the 51. He starts from 3rd alongside Thomas Troxell, who is now the only Pacific Racing driver yet to go to victory lane after Brendan Perez won last week. Kayla Rose won at Watkins Glen. Rogel Dawn starting from 5th alongside Travis Crampton, who ran very well in the 600 early in the year, finished 3rd. Here's the man 2nd in the championship, Henry Gore, starting from 7th, and he led a few laps here in this race, in the 600 early in the year, so keep an eye on him here today. And then the 600 pole sitter from early in the year, Charlie Davenport, starting inside the top 10. Starting from 8th, inside the top 10. Noah Clifton, 7th in the points still. He starts alongside 8th in the points, Matthew Hubert. That rounds out the top 10. How about Derek Hamill for Monkey Racing? This would have to be Monkey Racing's best start in the Cup Series. The 44 staying from 11th alongside Colin Denton in the 21. Jared Oren and Eli Bryce, who also both ran very well here in the 600. They start on row 7. Tristan Allen in the 14, who was 2nd here in the 600 early in the year. Mathematically eliminated from championship contention, our reigning champion. And Ludovic Charette starting alongside from 16th. And then Julio Cesar from 17th. He finished top 5 in the 600 alongside Jack Haas. And then Logan Williams and Tyler Jericho in the 63 round out the top 20. Just quickly as well, Dominic Anthony, there he is in the 39. Benny Watson in the 96 from 25th. He has to win the race, lead the most laps, and Dawson Miller must finish last. And there's Dawson Miller in the 48, who will start from the 31st position. A real surprise in qualifying. You see the rest is starting light left side of your screen. 84 laps, 125 miles. It should be a 2 pit stop race, barring any cautions coming out here in this race, which may or may not be the case. So, as all these drivers will roll off, Isaac, who do you think is going to win here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway?
I think I'm going to go with Alexander Rowe. He won this at this track last at the Coke 600, and he hasn't been on the best of runs lately. He's had a few races not go his way. He's been not finishing in the top 10 actually of late, but he's still alive in this championship. He's still wanting to try as hard as he can, and I think he's going to do whatever it takes to win this race.
He starts from the 3rd position, pretty good pick there. Of course, if he wins today and if Miller goes badly enough, he can still remain in this championship race. But we'll keep an eye on this 71. We'll keep an eye on the 48 throughout the day, because those two, of course, have been our main protagonists in this championship all year long. And Miller, of course, can make his way forward. can win the championship here today. But we'll find out. It's a long 84 laps here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And Jake Rogers, who has won the Coca-Cola 600 before here, back in Season 4, will lead the field to green. We'll wait for the pace car to come down pit road. And ducking off to the left here any moment. There it goes. 84 laps at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. The penultimate race of the Gratton Cup Series Season 6. The Bank of America 500. Green flags in the air, and we are racing here at Charlotte. Here we go, out of turn 4, first lap. Who will lead the first lap? It's almost a replica of what we saw at Atlanta. But the last time Alexander Rowe won the race, he beat Jake Rogers to the start-finish line, although Rogers this time edges out that 51. He leads the first lap, and here comes Thomas Troxell. That was pretty close there. He almost got into Rogers, trying to get up into the second position, has to slot back as Rowe gets clear of the 40, and he takes the lead. Lap number 2, Troxell's trying to get back at the 40, can't quite. Rogel Dawn, another PRM car, also starting inside the top 5. And Henry Gore inside the top 5 now as Troxell goes for second underneath of Rogers. Talked about Pacific Racing. They won at Watkins Glen with Caleb Rose. They won with the 92 as we got a yellow. And Echo Evans Ross is in the wall with Alex Sanvitale. And looks like it's just those two. No issues for the 48, which was good to see for his perspective. As caution's out, race back to the line is won by Alexander Rowe. With Troxell in second, Rogers third, Dawn and Gore the top 5. What I was going to say about the 62, of course, they won at Watkins Glen with Caleb Rose. They won at North Wilkesboro with Braden Perez. Troxell yet to go to victory lane yet, currently in the second position as our first caution of the day at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We did, of course, have a caution in the 600, but that was when Jack Haas ran into the end of the pit wall. So an actual caution on the track this time on lap number 2. Of course, we had a very early caution at North Wilkesboro. It looks like these guys will come in. And some of them will. Rogers will not.
Hang out.
Yeah, it sure is. He might not.
Is anyone else going to take that risk?
I imagine that there might be others, but certainly not up towards the front. So that's interesting there with Rogers. And, Rowe will lead them down the pit road. And we've seen strategy come into play a little bit throughout the season. Would you take tyres here at all, or just kind of just take a little bit of a top off and fuel?
I think these guys are actually going to go for tyres. I think even though it's been, a couple of laps, I stand corrected. They're all going for fuel.
Contact.
That was pretty bad contact. And Rowe has actually stopped in there for quite a while, as well as Vargas. So I don't know what's going on there. I think some are actually taking tyres.
Yeah, 97's taking tyres. That's interesting. Maybe guys like Hubert and company. And there is, you see Miller in the 48. Looks like he may have maybe gained a bit of ground. It actually looks like he gained a bit of ground. So 4 drivers stayed out. Jake Rogers, Tyler Jericho, Addison Steinbach, and Nathan Smith. So they'll be the leaders of the race. As Echo Evans Ross is now in her 3rd race in the Cup Series and has been involved in an accident in each of them. 3 from 3, unfortunately, for the number 18. Let's take a look what happened to trigger the first yellow here in the Bank of America 500. Okay, so we're starting the replay a lot further up than we normally would. You're going to see it starts with a bit of 4 wide, and looks like Alex Sanvitale, the 37, is going to shoot the gap here, which probably is not really realistic, because you got Parrish on the outside, Evans Ross was in the middle, and then you got Steinbach on the inside. So probably wasn't realistic. And then you're going to see here as they go through down the front, you're going to see there's going to be a little bit of contact between Evans Ross and Sanvitale. They squeeze down into Steinbach, and then luckily for Steinbach, he doesn't get any damage, unfortunately. Same cannot be said for the 37 and the 18. So they go spinning up into the outside wall in turn 1. Thankfully, that was it. It was a very minor incident, and both these cars will be able to continue as a result. And Sanvitale Bit of right side damage. Evans Ross with a bit of the whole rear rear bumper's been taken off that car on pit road. So not ideal for both of these drivers. As I said, Evans Ross has been in 3 races now, has been involved in accidents in each of them, and Alex Vitale with Leonard Koshma missing the race, far from ideal for the 37.
Well, we already know how risky 3-wide can be here, but 4-wide, that's a whole nother level, and it's so rare to see this at Charlotte. It's not a situation you ever want to be in, and this shows exactly why Sam Vitale still forcing the issue, gets into Evans Ross, into the wall, Bent narrowly avoiding that as well, and thankfully it was only those 2 cars involved and not as big as it really could have been here. We already know how big these wrecks can be at Charlotte, but just a tame one here.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be really quite massive, and especially 4-wide did happen, of course, towards the rear, so that kind of helped in that regard. But still not ideal for those 2 drivers, and as you said, Brandon Bent very lucky to get away with that. But of course, a bit of strategy. Some drivers stayed out, some drivers took tyres, some drivers didn't. Jake Rogers, one of those drivers that stayed out, so he reassumed the race lead in the number 40. Let's take you back to the green. First restart of the day coming up here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Bank of America 500. We're only on lap 7 now. We're restarting on lap 8 with Jake Rogers, Tyler Jericho, Addison Steinbach, who was caught up in that a little bit, but he's okay. He stayed out. Nathan Smith as well. They're the 4 drivers that stayed out, and they are they're the leaders now. Thomas Troxel won the race off of pit road in the 62. He is 5th. Rogaldorn 6th. Henry Gore is 7th. Charlie Davenport 8th. Christian Vargas, Alexander Rowe dropped back down to 10th at the end of all of that. And you can see Dawson Miller there in the number 48 as of right now in 22nd. So he's made a bit of ground off the start, a bit of ground on pit road. And that is right now an 18-point swing in favour of Gore. Of course, a lot of race still to play out with the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It'll be interesting as well, because you had some drivers like the 97, for example, Travis Crampton, took tyres. Will that make a big difference or not? We'll find out. Because, of course, these guys only had 2 laps of green flag racing. But it's Rogers from Jericho, Steinbach, Smith and Troxel. So into the restart zone. Green flags in the air, and we're back underway here at Charlotte. And watch for some of these guys to fan out. Troxel, Gore, Rowe, Steinbach all looking to the inside and trying to make up as much ground as they possibly can. And look at the 62. He looks very racy here off the start. He gets the inside of Jericho. He's going to look to the inside of Steinbach, who tried to shut the door on him. But forced it open. They're going to be 3
There's
wide.
contact. Oh,
That's not ideal if you're Gore. He's on the inside. He's going to make that ground up, but you obviously don't want to be involved in anything here if you're the 71. He's in a good spot right now. And he is going to get to the 3rd position. Rowe forcing the opening down there on that inside. 3 wide. Underneath the Davenport of Dawn. And maybe to the inside of Jericho as well. And so the order quite shuffled around. They're really going in quite hard. Down at the bottom. Maybe a little bit of contact with Oren back in there. But no harm, no foul. And while all that's going on, Rogers, Troxel and Gore pulling away here on lap 10.
they're just keeping it clean. They're not in any battles, which is really working in their favor. And yeah, it's an absolute hornet's nest out here. I think I don't want to cut away from this insane racing we've got at the moment, but I think, I know Miller is back on the inside, but I think he may have lost a couple spots in that restart. Just caught out on that restart. And at the moment, trying to make ground, but he just, I don't know, he's not making the progress. It's still very early on, but not where he wants to be at the moment.
Oh, definitely. Same Clifton back in there as well. The other Nicotech car, you got Watson and Anthony. So a lot of the big names not having a great time here in the early stages of this one. Rose trying to work his way back up. And he's going to the inside here of Nathan Smith. So the battle for the 4th position. And he should be able to make this one stick. Davenport's had a good restart. He was on the outside for a bit, but he found his way back down low.
Do I see more forward?
Oh,
there!
In the wall. You called it. Vargas and our last winner, Braden Perez. And Miller's involved. The 48's got damage. As Crown goes flipping down the back, the 48's involved. Christian Vargas, Annie Thomas, Eric Monaco, Kyla Sastre, and most notably, our championship leader, Dawson Miller, involved. Oh boy. That changes everything. Good news for Gore. He's in third. Second caution of the day. Rogers is still the race leader. Oh boy, that is bad. Lots of damage. Roberto Crown for the second week running involved. Monaco, Thomas, Vargas was a part of that start. It may have been 4 wide. Our last winner, Braden Perez, involved as well. Evans Ross with more damage on the 18. And they're all going to come down pit road now. Wow, that is a huge moment in this championship. The first incident I can remember for Dawson Miller outside of Talladega. That's a bad time to have it as Rogers leads them down pit road.
Yeah, it's not been the best of couple of races for Miller, has it? He's really just caught up in circumstance at the moment, and yeah, that was really unlucky. A lot of cars torn up in that one. I mean, yeah, you had Roberto Crown flipping down the backstretch, which, oh gosh, and there's contact in pit lane. Once again, big contact there with Gore.
Oh, and Rowe has stalled the car. This is what we saw last week with Miller. Rowe's stalled the car now. And he's going to probably lose a lap as well. So it's all happening here. As Rogers leads the race. He wins the race off pit road. Everybody came down. Troxel, Davenport, Gore got a bit of contact there with the 52. And you see the damage on the right side. Yeah. Oh boy.
You'd be hard-pressed to find any championship contender not involved in anything. I think Benny Watson's the only one to not be involved in anything so far.
Yeah, well, his championship's over because Miller's not going to finish last despite being involved in that accident. So no matter what Watson does, he's now out of the championship contention. Wow, that was a lot. Let's take a look what happened to maybe the most important caution of the season to date. Well, the famous last words. Did I see 4 wide from Isaac Nichols in the booth? Richard Fridge on the inside. Vargas can't quite get clear. And as Vargas slides up the racetrack, Fridge slides up the racetrack. Allows Julio Cesar to get on the inside. And Perez gets a run on the outside. And then you're going to see Vargas continues to slide up. And unfortunately, slides up into Perez. And they turn each other hard into the wall. Matthew Hubert has nowhere to go. Travis Crampton got a piece of it right there. And Vargas gets a little bit more, and you see they're spinning all over the track. Perez is going to bounce off that outside wall again. Looks like Clifton somehow got through it. Perez bounces back down. Watson gets by it. It's Miller that flips the 43 over. Actually, Clifton may not have got through that. And Miller flips the 43 over. You see Logan Williams get a piece of it. Rowley got run into by Sam Adio, Tyson Gifford, Colin Denton as the 43 tumbles down the back. Perez in the inside wall, lots of damage. And no one got the worst end of that, more so than Roberto Crown, who goes tumbling down the back. And then it's not over because look at Annie Thomas pile drive Christian Vargas. You see Evans Ross run into the 7. You saw Monaco and Sustre in it late. And they just arca braked right into the rear of the 36 and company. And their day's done and dusted. Monaco gets a little more. Max Davis gets a little piece of it there. The big one on the backstretch at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And it involves the championship leader. A lot of damage on Dawson Miller. And he might be he's in a lot of strife because he is, last time we checked, still on pit road. So bad break for the 48 and of course for all of these drivers involved.
Now we might be looking back and calling this the most pivotal moment of the championship. You see that 4 wide gets forced once again and yeah, that's just one little bit of contact and it all breaks loose. You see so many cars involved, including Miller getting big contact, Roberto Crown tumbling down the backstretch. And that, oh man, just looking at that in full speed, you see how crazy of an impact that was. Annie Thomas actually able to make a race this time, and it it finishes in spectacular fashion, and yeah, a lot of cars torn up. Miller's still down pit road, probably going to be a couple laps down at this point, and it wasn't over then either. Of course, we saw all that contact happen down pit road, including a bit of contact with Guo, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this restart shapes up, who's going to have the pace left in their car and who's going to be dropping to the back, because I think there are going to be a lot of cars that are out of position here in terms of their current pace.
It does open the door up for a potential new winner, doesn't it? Because a lot of the heavy hitters that you'd imagine right up there, that normally would be up there, have damage, and so you're going to see what happens here to Guo. And you're going to see, watch the 51. He's going to run into the back of Christian Vargas here, and he's going to get stuck in his pit stall. You're going to see, obviously, the 71. He's got Charlie Davenport behind it. It's Davenport and Gore who make contact. And you're going to see here, is because the 71's kind of boxed in with Travis Crampton right there, and you see Troxel actually runs into the 51 as well at the same time. So that didn't help the cause. So it's very tight pit road. And in the end, while the 71 has damage, he is able to continue. Alexander Rowe, unfortunately, a la Dawson Miller last week, loses a lap as a result, or will lose a lap as a result. Wow, that was a lot that happened. Jake Rogers is the race leader. Let's take it back to the green flag. Second restart of the day coming up. It's Jake Rogers, the race leader. Thomas Troxel is in second. Charlie Davenport. Henry Gore with that right side damage after the collision with the 52 on pit road. He's in fourth. Tristan Allen, who ran very well in the Coca-Cola 600, of course. He finished second that day, that night rather. He's currently fifth. Nathan Smith is sixth. Travis Crampton, Ludovic Charette, Addison Steinbach, who also has a bit of damage on the left side, and Julio Caesar currently inside the top 10. He was one of those guys that really helped start that incident. And well, there's the 48. He's coming off a pit road. Alexander Rowe. Rowe is now 1 lap down. Dawson Miller, Nicolas Samadeo are 2 laps down. Something to keep in mind. And of course, Miller has got a lot of damage. He's going to be well off the pace as well. Same potentially with Samadeo, because he obviously had a fair bit of damage as well from that incident. So they may come into play later on. It's not going to be a case where we disqualified Colin Denton last week because he was pitting over and over again. It's be a different scenario if Miller is just slow, and he'll be able to continue racing. It does eliminate Benny Watson from championship contention, because we do have a few drivers obviously out of the race given the amount of damage, amount of cars that were torn up. We'll talk about that when we get to, as we get the restart. Green flags back in the air, and a good jump for Jake Rogers. See, he's back out in front here at Charlotte. And Troxel was able to hold on to second. There's Davenport, War, and Allen. Good start for the 97 of Crampton. And here we go. Allen to the inside of his former teammate. Looks like maybe there is a bit of damage on the 71, because he just doesn't quite look as fast right now. You've got Davenport on the inside, trying to get to the inside of Troxel. Gore's able to make that outside lane work. He will hold the position for now. Here comes Ludovic Charette in the 23. And the 26 of Julio Caesar right there as well. They all got around Nathan Smith on the restart. Some of the drivers out, you can see them on your screen. Eric Monaco, Annie Thomas, Roberto Crown, Christian Vargas. They're all out of the race. Dawson Miller's actually still on the only 1 lap down. Same with Samadeo. I thought they were 2 laps down, so apologies about that. So they're only 1 lap down. But with the way it runs right now, Guo is 4th. Miller is 38th. It's a 5-point differential as they run right now, which is remarkable given that 2 races ago, coming into North Wilkesboro, it was a 60-point gap between those 2 drivers. But with that right side damage, it's something to keep in mind as this race goes along. As Charette drives it way up the racetrack. Crampton got shuffled back a little bit. Here comes Rogaldorn. Here comes Dominic Anthony in the 39 on the inside. We haven't seen as much of him here in this one. Benny Watson's currently in an awkward spot right now in the 96 on that outside lane. And Addison Steinbach's dropped back since the restart a bit as well. Doesn't look like Charlie Davenport's got any damage. He looks pretty racy here in the 52. He's in 3rd, hounding the back of Troxel.
Yeah, how about Charlie Davenport? We've seen, moments where this car has come alive, and once again, he's going to try and get this race lead. He's just going to hold on behind Troxel at the moment. Just let them sort of race it out, and that's assuming that Troxel can even get to Rogers at the moment, because he's really pacing this field at the moment and defending this pole position that he got pretty well.
Troxel's got a good run though. He's right on the back. He's not quite close enough to make that move yet. We're only now a quarter of the way through this race. Just kind of, I mean, the 600's extraordinarily long, but this is a very long race in its own right. And there's a long, long way to go here in this one. But a lot of those guys that ran pretty well, the 600 earlier in the year, are running pretty well here at the moment. Alan and Julio Cesar, amongst them, both finished top 5. Cesar finished 4th that day. Alan finished 2nd. And here they are, both running very, very nicely in the early stages still. Ludovic Charette as well. Hey, I mentioned Leonard Koshman missed the race in that 03. That basically guarantees Ludovic Charette is going to be in for Homestead. That's a good result for that 23 team, a team that's been outside the top 35 practically all year. As Alan gets to the inside of Guo, it's not going to help the 71 in any capacity, but really all the 71 now has to do is just kind of run around and just get a somewhat decent result. Doesn't even really have to be a truly elite result. It can even just be a somewhat decent result. Another thing to keep in mind, we've still got 2 pit stops in this race, I would imagine, given that it's a 26 to 30 lap run, typically. So we still have 2 pit stops in this race. And look at the 3 wide going on almost there on the inside. You got Oren, Benny Watson, and Dominic Anthony's on the outside there, the 39. That was pretty close to being 3 wide. Watson's now just going to push his teammate, trying to get past. And NS Racing, of course, have had a great season. They've already won 10 races, looking for number 11 here today, but they do have some work to do. At the moment, Rogers still out in front. Troxel cannot find a way around the 40 as of yet, but I want to keep an eye on these 2 guys. And how about maybe Charette here in the 23, who is looking very, very racy, going for the 6th position. Oh, they are 3 wide. So they are 3 wide now. Watson finally made it done. They're 3 wide behind as well with Jericho. Eli Bryant and Nathan Smith back in there. There's a bit going on. Anthony will clear, though, in front of the 96.
They're definitely not calming down. Even though we've already had 2 yellows, they still want to race hard. And at the moment, it's been pretty good since the restart. And yeah, as you said, Charette, she's having a pretty decent run. She's looking quick. We've got a pass for the lead. Thomas Structural to the inside of Rogers, and he's going to get that one done. Charlie Davenport's going to follow his way through. Rogers trying to rip that outside, try and keep the run on there, but not going to quite keep that, and Davenport's going to take that 2nd place, and now that opens up the door for Allen and Caesar. Caesar peeking to the inside. He's going to make it 3 wide. He's really getting the elbows out in this race, as we've already seen, and he's going to take both of those spots up into 3rd, and still defending, trying to keep Rogers behind. Rogers has done a great job to keep that outside working, and not quite going to hold it on that turn 3 and 4, and Caesar's going to file into 3rd. But we've got a new race leader, Thomas Troxel. He, of course, is the only Pacific Racing driver to have not won a race this season, and he's really wanting to get this one locked in.
No doubt about that. He's out in front with Davenport right behind. Caesar looks very racy. You mentioned he's not afraid to make those aggressive moves. It's certainly been the case so far. And he's in 3rd. Rogers right behind now. Gore is dropping another position here. This is Rogel Dawn, and keep an eye on these guys. Anthony, Watson, Oren, they have now worked their way forward a bit. So they're ones to keep an eye on. Gore's definitely, that right side damage is having an impact. It's not having a severe impact, but he is not quite as fast as what we have seen as of late from the 71. And right now dropping back to the 8th position. If they do repair that on pit road, he loses more positions, but potentially gets the car fixed up and makes it a bit quicker. So it'll be something to keep in mind as this race goes along. Of course, there's no guarantee we don't get another yellow in the way that these drivers have raced so far here today. Caesar, proving my point, getting down to the inside of Davenport, slides up, makes it stick. So the 26 now up to 2nd. And Rogers looking to follow back past Davenport. Davenport wanted to close the door, has to relinquish the position. So Rogers back up into the 3rd position. I'll tell you what, the 26 is very, very quick here at the moment. Caesar doing a very good job. Of course, he finished 2nd at Kansas. He hasn't won yet this year. 7 career wins, 4 of them last season, season 5, in what was then the 25. Right now, he's on the back of Troxel trying to make some moves. Rogel Dawn right in there as well, the 04, looking to the inside of Charette. Not quite close enough. You got Anthony, who's now ahead of Gwar. So Gwar down to 9th. Watson in 10th. It's pulled away from Oren. So lots of moves going on. Right now, it is Troxel from Caesar. Here comes Allen to the inside of Davenport for 4th.
It's starting to sort of settle it out at the moment. You see, there's still a lot of moves being made, but for the most part, it's single file, but still some good racing, and Rogaldorn's going to just slip under Charette there. Kind of used Davenport as a pick there to get that move done, and now going to try and get the position, and into the top 5 goes Rogaldorn.
Oh, he's got Gwar. That was close there. I think Watson wanted to close the door on the 71. The 71's trying. He just does not have the car pace as much as some of the guys around him. We talked about it a lot. He's back on the inside of Watson. Did lose that position before. He's looking to try and get it back. Top 3 broken away. Troxel still leading this race and still doing a really good job. He finished 3rd last week. It equaled his season best. So he's found some form late on. But hello to Dominic Anthony. Going for 4th now underneath of Tristan, mathematically eliminated from championship contention last week. But looking for his 2nd win of the year. He won at Kansas in the Hollywood Casino 400 back in, I want to say, January. That was a fair while ago. He was hoping to get his 2nd win of the season. End the year on a high note. Echo Evans-Ross with the damage there in the 18. And for Dawson Miller, he's actually not that slow in the grand scheme of things, but he is still 38th. So that's the big issue at the moment. It's not as much damage as perhaps I would have thought. He's not as slow, but he is still in 38th position, still losing a lot of ground to the 71. Caesar's all over the back. Rogers right there as well. So I was trying to get a wriggle on it. I think that 39, that Napa Chevrolet, is looking really, really quick and has made his way up to 4th, closing in on our race leaders. So he's one to watch as this race goes along. Watson's back around Gwar, and he's going to the inside of Davenport. He's, of course, won 5 times this year, looking for number 6. He's another one that, you know, could very easily win this race, even from where he currently is. He's all over the back of Davenport. Can't quite find a place to make a move yet. They're driving up the track a lot. It feels like they're driving up the track a lot, washing up more so than they did in the 600, and that's probably because of the conditions. Obviously a hot track today with the sunlight out. It's the first time we've ever raced at Charlotte in daylight. First time that's ever happened. So something to keep in mind potentially, but they are overdriving it just a little bit as Troxel under a lot of pressure here from Caesar and Rogers. Anthony closing in, but they're also closing in on Echo Evans-Ross, who's basically running the modified at the moment in car 18.
Yeah, they're going to catch up to him, very quickly. And yeah, this is going to really put a little spanner in the works for these front runners. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Of course, you mentioned first time that we've done this in the daytime. These drivers, for some, it'll be a bit of uncharted waters, trying to manage the tires while also keeping the pace. This is a very high degradation track. The banking can really cut those tires in, and Roger's gonna get that move to the inside, give Caesar a little taste of his own medicine, and now Anthony is gonna go and make that move to the inside. Is he gonna go for it? Yes, he is gonna send it down to the inside 3 wide. Is he gonna, those tires are not as good as they were a few laps ago, but gonna try and hold that inside. Caesar is getting a run on that outside.
Jeez, there's a bit going on, isn't there? Anthony really had to check up out of turn 4. I thought he lost too much momentum, but he is going to be able to get past up to second. And what a drive that he's had on this run. He's now up to that second position. Rogel Dawn. How about Dawn? The 04. It's kind of gone under the radar in terms of the rookies. Probably because PRM, to be honest, have kind of fallen away as the year has gone on. But Dawn was as high as 7th in the points earlier on in the season. He's had a great year in his own right as Troxel now approaches on Echo Evans-Ross. Needs to get around the 18. as quickly as he possibly can. And eventually, oh, no, he's still stuck behind. And this is going to really hurt. Because here comes Anthony, here comes Dawn closing in on the 62. Nobody able to make a move yet. Now Troxel gets to the inside. That took a bit longer than he would have hoped for. And now he's got Anthony and the 04 in, right behind as Braden Perez is in the 92. So there he is. I'm not sure if that's a mechanical issue or not. No, that is a scheduled stop. Apparently got a bit of damage repair going as well on that car in this stop. So these guys are going to pit here imminently as we approach halfway. Here comes Anthony with a run to the inside of Thomas Troxel to take the lead in this number 39. Troxel's going to wash up the track. And here comes Anthony. He will get clear in the 39 and he takes the lead here at Charlotte. Rogel Dawn looking to follow through. And he will be able to, of course. Caesar on the inside of Rogers. And there's a bit of a gap back to Tristan Allen in 6th at the moment. Over a second between those guys. As Dawn gets passed up to 2nd, Caesar gets clear up to 4th. Rogers down to 5th. And Dominic Anthony leading for Gifford Technologies Incorporated. Well, looks like he may pit now by the looks of it.
Yes.
Yeah,
going for the undercut. Troxel's coming in as well.
Yeah, sure is. Some of these others, including Allen, Watson. Now, Gore's the big watch because he has that right side damage. They may be repairing that car on this stop. And I think there was a bit of contact entering pit road, maybe between the 54 and the 97.
That's also something else we have to keep an eye on is the entry to pit road.
Yeah,
it was a big problem last time out here.
It sure was, and I'm sure Jack Haas can attest to that, given he ran into the end of the pit wall. Rogel Dawn is in, Jake Rogers in, Caesar in as well. Anthony's done. Looks like a good stop for him.
Oh,
yeah, we got a yellow. We got a yellow. Oh boy, we have a yellow. The lights are on the pace car. Not sure where or how or why. This is good news for the 48. This is not good news for Gore, who is repairing the right side. Yeah, repairing the right side of that car. Oh, okay. We're going to have to see how this plays out. Tyler Jericho's the race leader as it currently stands. There he is. Jack Haas. Sam Adeo was caused a lap down. They're the ones that stayed out. Unfortunately for Sam Adeo, it hasn't quite worked out because because of the two guys in front of him have stayed out. Oh, be careful. Back in there is Travis Crampton. He's got to be real careful. Oh! And that's, contact with Sam Adeo. 45 should spin around. He should be okay. Gets it on the pit road. It's far from ideal. They're all trying to sort themselves out here. As Jericho is the leader. Watson's on the tail end of the lead lap. We know that. And we'll see. There's the 71. I'm trying to figure out who the race leader is. Because if the 71 may be on the tail end of the lead lap here. So figure that all out. Now, Rogel Dawn in the 04. I think Rogel's the race leader. He's ahead of Anthony. So I think he's the race leader. As they're all trying to sort themselves out. We need to figure out what actually happened to trigger the yellow. See, the 51's on pit road as well. There's Jericho. So I think it's Rogel Dawn who is the race leader for PRM. There he is. So we'll figure this all out. It's a bit of a mess here at the moment. And does Watson have a problem? Watson's had a tyre go down.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. It just continues. All four of them have had something go wrong at this race. This is unbelievable. So Watson's going to end up losing a lap at the end of all this. That's a tough break for him. Well, let's take a look at what happened. I think Rogel Dawn's the race leader. We'll figure this out. Take a look at the replay. Well, teammate on teammate here, unfortunately. Eli Bright, as we talked about, we saw in the 600, we saw drivers overcommit. Eli Bright, it's not anywhere near as egregious, but unfortunately, he just doesn't get slowed down in time. He's going to run into the back of Jared Oren. And you'll see that right about now. He runs into the back of the 99, spins himself out, and as a result, that is what triggers the yellow. That is legitimately just it. It's far better for Bright that he actually ran into the back of Oren than running into the end of the pit wall. But still damage to repair for both of those guys, and it throws again another spanner into the works here in this race. Rogel Dawn is the race leader, so I was correct in that assumption, but the 95, well, it's probably not his finest moment.
Let's have a look at this again in real time. Eli Bright becomes the culprit of the going way too hot into pit lane, and the unfortunate victim was his own teammate, and he was just on track enough for that yellow to come out, and yeah, this really shakes things up once again, and we'll have to see where, most importantly, Gore shakes out in all of this, and I think fortunately for him, he's going to stay on the lead lap.
Yes, he will stay. He's on the tail in the lead lap, so he lost a lot of ground, but he is still... We see the damage there, the damage repair on car 71. He drives out of the pit stall. He's on the lead lap still, but he's a lot further back than he was. So we'll see what he could do here in the second half of this race. Still a long, long way to go, as I said. But anyways, it's the 04, Rogel Dawn, the Procore Dodge, leading this race, looking for his first career win. Let's take you back to our third restart of the race. Coming back to green this time, third restart of the day. Rogel Dawn's the race leader. Julio Caesar is second. Kelly Lee is third, somehow. Jake Rogers and Charlie Davenport rounds out the top 5 in the 52. With Will Parrish right behind. Dominic Anthony, who lost out a lot of ground on pit stops. Brandon Bent, Thomas Troxel, Tristan Keenan Raleigh. I think that's the top 10. No, Tristan's top 10. There you go. A couple of things to note. Henry Gore is in 29th as a result of the damage repair. Now, the good thing for him, he has about 36 laps to make as much of ground possible back up. But right now, it's not much of a swing in his favour. The other thing is, somehow, someway, Alexander Rose unlapped himself. I don't know how. I don't know how it happened, but he did. Keep an eye on the 51. As the race goes along, because we know how fast he is. It's Rogel Dawn, the race leader, looking for his first win in the Cup Series. He's got 2 of his teammates inside the top 5, and what's been outside of Christian Vargas has been a pretty good day for PRM. He's got Julio Caesar in between them in second. Charlie Davenport as well inside the top 5. Here we go. Green flag. We're back underway at Charlotte. And a good jump for Dawn. Good jump for Rogers. He wants to get back to the front. He's on the inside of his teammate Kelly Lee. He gets past, and here comes Will Parrish in the 11, who we have not seen even remotely close to the front up until now. He's on the inside, going to the 4th position. Here comes Anthony, trying to make up for some lost ground on that stop. Same with Troxel. Being the inside of Brandon Bent. Well, it's all to play for here, coming to 35 to go this time.
This would be an amazing opportunity for Dawn to get that win. You know, he's a pretty good driver. You know, he's, as of currently, leading the championship in the Wildcard Cup Series. So, you know, he's no slouch whatsoever, but he's got quite the big task ahead of him. Rogers is really quick, and he's in the same equipment as Dawn, and he's looking pretty quick. He's got Caesar behind him as well, both of which have been up front this whole time. I mean, Dawn has been up front this whole time as well, but these two have been very quick, and they're going to make very light work of the 04 and get past him pretty quickly here. And Rogers, he's back in the lead again, and he's really not letting this one get away. There's some almost 3 wide further back as Dominic Anthony is still pacing his car, and he's moving his way back to the front. Dawn getting back to the inside of Caesar, going to take that second spot away and possibly even create a buffer for his own teammate there before he's able to catch back up to him. Anthony's going to slip into 4th as he gets past Parrish. Lee's going to get back to the inside of Parrish as well, and Thomas Troxel also going to make his way through. Kean Raleigh, who got a little bit of contact from that big one earlier on, is up here as well into the top 10. Brandon Bent, who was also really close to getting involved in a wreck earlier on, he's into the top 10 as well. So we've got some championship caliber drivers making their way up to the front. You've got Tyler Jericho also making his way up here as well. And yeah, it's this massive shuffle as this restart goes on. And have a look at this. Alexander Rowe.
Oh, someone's blown up Kelly Lee. Oh, sorry to cut you off, but Lee with another mechanical issue. It's not the first time that's happened to her this year, and she's not going to make it back either.
What a tough break.
Yeah, that is. And we'll stop on the back. There's no cars coming, so I wouldn't imagine there'll be a caution for it. Let's see, she's coming to a stop now. Don't think there will be a caution. I think they'll continue on, but that's a shame for the 76. So that's 2 PRM cars out. The other 2, 1 and 2 currently. Rogers from Dawn, Anthony and Caesar. And then a bit of a gap back to Will Parrish. And here goes the 39 to the inside. And he's going to get to the second position. Past Dawn. Caesar will follow through, you'd imagine. And get himself up. Oh no, good run for Dawn on the outside. He's going to try and continue to fight the 39, but the 39 is clear. Now, back down the order. There's our 71. So Henry Gore, at the moment, 22nd. So he's made 7 spots since the restart. He's going to need to make up a bit more because Dawson Miller currently 36th. He's about to... he's actually 36th. He's trying to get around Braden Perez right here. Right now, that is a 14-point swing. And Miller's going to go to the inside maybe here of Perez. So this is another position for the 48. Can't quite get the drive through. So... point is, for Henry Gore, it's a recovery drive. He's got to make up as much ground as he possibly can to try and make that margin as small as he possibly can heading into the finale. Because you'd imagine that he should be able to finish ahead of Dawson Miller. Back up front, it's Anthony right behind his former ride. He used to drive the number 40 back in seasons 3 and 4, of course. Driving 4 PRM. He's all over the back of Rogers. Trying to take this lead back away. He was so fast prior to that round of pit stops and then, of course, the subsequent caution. It would not be surprising to see him take the lead away from the 40. Alexander Rowe, by the way, is in the top 10. Keep an eye on him because he's very fast. We know that. He knows how to work this track. And his teammate's going for the lead right here. To the inside. Couldn't quite get the run on the bottom. Rogers able to hold that on the outside and he will remain in front with 26 laps to go. Top 4 have got a bit of a gap, but Parrish still hanging around. How about Jericho and Jack Haas, who were the latest drivers to pit? They were the ones that stayed out long, took the lead as the caution came out. And here they are, currently 7th and 8th. A nice run for those 2 guys currently. As Jericho actually going to get to the inside of Troxel right here and get himself up into 6th. So he's doing a very nice job of things here. Right now, Anthony's still all over the back of Rogers.
Yeah, he's really bumping the, getting close to that bumper of the number 40. He was doing the same thing to Dawn when he got past him, and he's just trying to force that mistake and maybe try and get a nose to the inside. We've seen many drivers do that exact move to get that position, and most notably into turn 1. Let's see if Anthony can get that nose. He's not close enough. Still gonna just have to file in behind and look for the perfect opportunity. Rogers has been doing a great job of keeping this lead so far, but it is far from over yet. Anthony is really hounding on the back of Rogers here, and yeah, as I was saying before, yeah, Rowe is making his way up, and you know, he needs to make up 32 points on Miller to stay within a shot of this championship. And if he gets up to the lead here, he's got a fast car. This is the perfect opportunity for him to do so. It would be a very long shot at Homestead for him to take the championship, of course, but he's doing whatever he can to stay alive and have those hopes, as we should probably have a look at the back to the front as Anthony is now to the inside of Rogers and is going to try and make this move into turn 1. Is he going to get there? Is he going to stay there? Rogers has been pretty good at holding that outside throughout this race, and he's going to try and get that run. Going to stay side by side on the back straight. Doesn't quite have as much of an overlap as he would have liked, and Anthony's now going to clear him, and to the lead goes Dominic Anthony.
Anthony gets clear. He's out in front here in the 39 ahead of Rogers. Here comes Caesar with a poking, just a little look to the inside of Dawn, and he will get underneath the 04. And he will get up into third, you'd imagine. How about Jericho? He's now up to fifth. Of course, he's run very well since he's entered this car, since he started running this car, which was back at Las Vegas about a couple months ago. But, geez, this is a good run he's ever had. Currently in the 5th position. Did finish top 5 at Watkins Glen, of course. Alexander Rowe, it's a good point you made. Rowe's still mathematically alive coming into this race. And with Miller down in 36th, right now it's a 29-point swing because he's got a lap lead today. So he gets a bonus point for that. He needs to gain 32 points. And that would get him, if he gets 32 points over Miller, that would get him to 46 and he would have the tiebreaker. Because of the win. But he'd have to win and lead the most laps next week. So it's not likely for it, but it's certainly not impossible. As you can see, there's Gward, the 71. He is 23rd. He's actually lost a spot in all this. So the 71 struggling here in this run. And maybe more damage than initially anticipated. Even though you see that right side they fixed, maybe there's more to this. Because he's lost a point. A critical point in the grand scheme of things. So right now it's a 26-point advantage to Miller as it currently runs. So the 71's got to make some ground up here in these, let's say, 20 laps or so. But for Dominic Anthony, he's doing a great job. That margin, by the way, the top 2 have really pulled away. Caesar's now 1.6 seconds off the lead. It may not be him to watch because this guy is fast and this guy is fast. There's Rowe on the inside of Parrish. He may go to the inside of Troxel. Troxel's going to shut the door on him. No way through. As of right now, he's a little bit higher. Rose is really able to run the center of the corner very nicely. There he goes down to the inside. And so he will get up to 6th. So keep an eye on this 51. I don't know if he's got enough time to catch the 39. Of course, we do have another round of pit stops, it should be said. And Echo Evans Ross in the 18. They're approaching again. But I don't know. I mean, crazy things have happened, but this thing stays green and Anthony has a good stop. He's going to be hard to beat. He's pulling away from Rogers now. And he's got a nice little gap between himself and the number 40, looking for a second win of the season. He's going to get to the inside of Evans Ross. The 18 stays out of the way. The 39 makes that one nice. No, the 39 makes that one nice and easy in the end. And Rose up to 6th. So keep an eye on him. Jericho's up to 5th. He's fast in that 63. He could be one to watch as this race goes along. These are still battling back in there. Gwar cannot do anything at the moment. And this he's just lost another position. He's lost 2 positions. He's down to 25th. So the 71 mathematically would still head into Homestead with a chance, but he is really struggling here in this race. Oh, that's close there with Sustre as he slid up out of the corner. Here comes the 71 now.
Yeah, that damage is really putting him at a disadvantage, and it's not what he would like to see to have the best chance. He was running in the top 10. He was, holding his own for a little bit, but ever since that yellow came out, it's just not been the run that he would have liked. And maybe these pit stops can, turn that around slightly and give him another shot. But at the moment, it's looking pretty bleak for Gwar at the moment.
Indeed it is right now. Still mathematically alive, but not looking great for him at the moment. How about Jared Oren doing a nice solid job despite the damage he has at the moment? Currently in the 15th position. As Eli Bridle also has a bit of damage. We know Downpoint's a bit of damage. Evans Ross on pit road. So, now, as Rowe gets to the inside of Jericho, when do you pit? That's the question, because these guys will have to pit. You see Anthony's got a bit of a gap now on the 40. And you mentioned it is a high tire wear track. Not as high as tracks like Darlington, for example, but still in the realm of 1.5, 2 seconds. So, the 39... When do you pit? When do you pit if you're the 39? When do you pit if you're Rogers? These guys are flying, by the way, compared to Caesar. It's 2 seconds now behind even Rogers. Dawn's back in 4th. Rowe's now up to 5th. When do you pit? That'll be the question that these guys will have to, or these crew chiefs and everybody, they'll have to figure out. They'll have to ask themselves. So we approach now. Anthony's going really quite slow. He's not going to pit yet. So we'll see here as to when they have to pit. As you see, some of these guys now coming down. And, of course, you've got to be careful now. Rogel Dawn's the first to bite of our race leaders. He's in with Troxel. Benny Watson's a lap down, so he's not part of this. So we'll see when the 39 and company comes in. And you've got to be careful with some of these lap cars as well. Logan Williams with a bit of damage. You've got to be careful here for your Rogers. Oh, that's got to be real careful. Up, Williams gets in behind. Nicely done in the end. Slides up the track. Anthony's going to pit now. And Roger's going to follow suit. We're approaching 10 laps to go this time. Rowe is going to stay out with Tyler Jericho. So the 51 will get a lap lead right there. But we'll see as Anthony leads them down pit road. And we'll see if he can have a nice...
A bit of contact between Oren and Hubert there.
Oh, yep. And you see Hubert dragged right into his pit stall. He might be in trouble. I think he's maybe stalled the car. He has.
Yeah.
That's a shame there. So he's going to lose another lap. He's going to lose a lap there in the 8. He's actually going to lose a lot more ground because it's obviously under green flag. So there's the 39. He's done. Jake Rogers, you see the right side's up on the 40. And he is done. Took a little while. Little tardy coming out of the box. Anthony gets out ahead. Caesar's not that far back either. Rowe is still staying out. He's really rolling the dice. He wants a race win, there's no doubt about that. Let's see where they come out relative to Rogel Dawn. There is the 04. Caleb Rowe's also staying out the 32. And Dawn is a long way back. So let's see here. Rowe is now in. So the 51 now in. You see Miller is done with his stop. There's Anthony. And all these guys have taken their stops. Keep an eye on the 04. He might have taken 4 tyres, or either that or he had a bad stop. One of the two. There's Will Parrish off of pit road. There's Tyler Jericho. Jericho's another one of those guys you've got to keep an eye on because he was very fast on the back end of that run. He's going to get out ahead of Dawn, so that is a changeful position. Important stop here for the 51. You see the right side's going up. Imagine just be right sides only. It's a good stop. Gets out nice and cleanly. He won't be the leader of the race. Here comes Anthony, but this is a good stop. He's going to put himself in position here to have a good run, and we'll see where the points play out at the end of all this. So Rowe, there's Caesar, there's Jericho, Rogel Dawn. And let's see if Dawn, let's see what kind of speed he's got. He might be too far back, unfortunately. Anthony with a good stop. And there's Rowe. He's in 6th. Will Parrish is up to speed, so we'll see if the 11 could do anything with the 51, who overdrives a little bit, but should, you'd imagine, hold on to that position, although the 11 really up to speed. Brandon Bett, Richard Fridge, is he on the lead lap in that 20? Yes, he is. Top 10. And Jack Haas in the 00. That's your top 10. Dominic Anthony's out of here. 2 seconds up on Jake Rogers.
He's really checked out ever since he got that lead, and yeah, the undercut rear here really has a advantage in terms of track position and pure pace, but of course some drivers wanted to take that risk, and it was a pretty good risk to take if this race is anything to go by and having a yellow come out late in the run, but it didn't happen in this case, and Anthony is quite a ways in front, so we'll have to see here at the line how far or how close that gap is now, and see whether Rogers is able to eat into that gap. And yes, he is very slightly, and with only 5 laps to go, it's really not going to be enough at this point for him to catch up to Anthony.
Tyler Jericho running in 4th. What a run this is for the 63, and only his 8th career start. Having a magnificent run. I thought Dawn was going to be... I thought maybe Dawn took 2, but it took 4 maybe. But it looks like he may have just had a slow stop in general. Rowe has settled into 6th. That's looking good. As Anthony's got 4 laps to go. There is the 71. He is 22nd. And Dawson Miller, I think, is 35th. As Duncan Ward hits pit road. There might be an issue. He's had a brakes issue on car 54. And that is for position. So that's a position Ward will get. So he's now 21st.
Mind you, that's also a position that Miller may get as well.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Because Miller's in 35th. So right now it's a 14-point swing. It makes it 25 points going to next week. Well, next week, but Sunday night, rather. We'll see. Kind of, if Duncan Ward could get back out there and stay ahead of the 48, or will he lose that spot to the 48? We'll find out. 3 to go, coming to 2 to go for Dominic Anthony, who's making, I think it's his 177th career start. One of the 2 drivers to have run in every race with Tristan Allen. Those are the only 2. He's got 2 laps to go, looking for what I believe would be his 7th career win. And I think it is from memory. I do have to check that. You see, makes his way down the back. He's got no worries from Rogers behind him. He'll be coming to the white flag this time. So for Dominic Anthony, it would actually be his 6th win, apologies. 6th win if he can bring this thing home. White flag's in the air, 1 lap to go here at Charlotte. And Anthony had got caught out a little bit with that caution, and that final caution of the race didn't really help his cause. He dropped back down to 7th. He worked his way back to the front, and he's going to get himself a 2nd win of the season, and a really critical win for Gifford Technologies Incorporated. They had not won since Atlanta a couple of months ago. It's been a while between drinks, at least for their standards this year. As he rounds turn 4, Dominic Anthony wins the Bank of America 500, his 2nd win of the season. Rogers home in 2nd, Caesar 3rd, Tyler Jericho, Rogaldorn top 5, and Rowe ended up in 6th. That will not be enough to win the championship, but to keep himself alive in the championship, it's a 2-horse race. Going to Homestead, because Gore gets himself to 20th, and Dawson Miller finishes 34th. So, we will go to Homestead with the championship battle. The margin will be 25 points between the 2 of them. A race win for Dominic Anthony here at Charlotte. Full results on your screen. Rowe, as we mentioned, in 6th ahead of Brandon Bent. Got a good day today. Jack Haas had a very good run today in the 00. Will Parrish and Richard Fridge round out the top 20. You see the rest of your results. Top 10, I should say. Rest of the results on your screen. And Henry Gore in 20th. The big story. What could have been if he hadn't had that damage potentially on the right side?
Yeah, absolutely. He's made some ground, but not as much as he would have liked, of course. That was completely out of his control. An unfortunate pit situation, and yeah, it's going to be very interesting going into Homestead. Congrats to Dominic Anthony for that win. He's been probably, he really showed his pace this race, and he's been quick all race long. He came through the field a couple times, and the pace of that car was completely unmatched, as we saw by the end of that race. And yeah, unfortunate for Miller to be involved in that accident. More points lost, and quite the points lost that he's had in the past couple races. But in terms of the championship, it does make things very interesting.
Absolutely. Here are the championship standings. After 29 races, 1 race left to go on Sunday for the GRT Grand Finale. It is 25 points between Miller and Gore, and those are the only 2 drivers that can win the Gratton Cup Series Championship here in season number 6. Alexander Rowe tried everything he could. He overcame being a lap down. He somehow finished 6th, but it's not enough for him. He is out of championship contention. Dominic Anthony moves up to 4th. Benny Watson, of course, with his dramas today, he's out of the championship as well. He's now actually dropped down to 6th in points. But as you see the full results, Isaac, I know you'll be a nervous man Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And then we got sign-ups afterwards. Wow, what a race here at Charlotte. What are you expecting from Homestead? We called that race earlier in the year. It was an absolute ripper. What are your expectations for the finale on Sunday night?
My expectations is that it'll be very unpredictable. Homestead is a very exciting track, very exciting racing, as always on this game, and this will be no different. And to have a championship fight between Miller and Gore just adds to the spice. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether Miller can, find his form again and see if he can get that pace back that he's had all season long, or if Gore's going to be able to eke out those 25 points and, 26, as Miller would have the tie break, and see whether he's able to get that championship.
Yeah, absolutely. He does have that tiebreaker, Dawson Mill. So Gore will need to gain at least 26 points. And Sunday night's race at the Homestead-Miami Speedway, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You do not want to miss it. If the earlier race of the year at Homestead was any indication, you will not want to miss this final race of the season. 84 laps around one of the best tracks in NR2003, the Homestead-Miami Speedway. And of course, following that, we've got the first round of sign-ups for anyone that raced in Season 6. That will be directly after the race in the Gratton Cup Series Discord server. Link in the description if you haven't already joined. It's going to be a very fun season. And then, of course, the new season will start, Season 7, sorry. The new drivers for Season 7, that will be the following week on the 18th of May, 17th of May, also in the Gratton Cup Series Discord server. So make sure you join below, because we've got a lot of fun coming up, of course, during the off-season. We've got a new series coming up, which we're happy to announce in a few weeks, and looking forward, of course, to the finale at the Homestead-Miami Speedway, the GRT Grand Finale. For Isaac Nichols, I'm Stuart Grant signing off here from Charlotte. Congratulations to Dominic Anthony on his race win, and we'll see everybody on Sunday night at the Homestead-Miami Speedway.